Recording in progress.
Good evening, Cheverly. We will be getting started momentarily. Just give us a few minutes and we will get started. Thank you.
Testing.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to everyone that is online. My name is Delane Galloway. I'm the town administrator for the town of Cheverly. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Cheverly Mayor and Town Council. This evening, it is such a delight that we are having a Cheverly Education Roundtable. We're having a Cheverly Education Roundtable with our own school board representative and Cheverly native herself, Miss Amy Olivo of District 4. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Miss Amy Olivo to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I will admit I was very nervous that no one would actually show up, and I know we have some folks online as well, so I appreciate our folks online for joining us also. As Mr. Galloway said, my name is Amy Olivo, and I am your new Board of Education representative for District 4. Our agenda for this evening is we have our welcome. I'll provide some updates. We're going to have some table discussions. So I'll ask you guys to kind of, come together maybe a little bit more for some table discussions. And that will just be for the in-person participants, not our virtual participants. And then we'll have time for question and answer. A little bit about me. I was appointed to fill this seat by then Acting County Executive Tara Jackson at the end of April. So you may know or recall that our former school board representative was Shayla Adams Stafford, and she had won her re-election last November. And relatively soon after that, stepped down from the Board of Education to run from County Council, and she is now our County Council member for County Council District 5. And so state law does not have a provision for special elections for Board of Education, which is probably good because we had just been through a real slew of special elections, and was really pleased. I applied for the position and was really grateful to Acting County Executive Tara Jackson, who appointed me. I'm not quite a Cheverly native, but I've been here almost half my life, living in Cheverly with my spouse, Abel. I have been a PGCPS advocate for over 17 years. I'm really proud that I was a prior Gladys Noon-Spellman PTA president and have been involved with all of my kids' schools over these many years. My own two children, Abel and my children, are PGCPS class of 2024. Our older son, Lucas, graduated from Parkdale from the International Baccalaureate program in 2024. And our younger son, Nathaniel, is in 10th grade this year at Duval High School in the Aviation, Aeronautics, and Engineering program. I messed that up because it's AEAT, but it's a very cool program that I'd be happy to tell you more about. I also had served previously for 11 years on the Board of Trustees of Prince George's Community College, which has actually given me a really great groundwork because I think that college preparation is key for our school students. And today in my day job, because school board is not a full-time role, I'm a nonprofit executive. This is our Board of Education district. District 4 is in the pink. When people ask me to describe it, it's very hard to describe because like many election districts, it's very oddly shaped. But it essentially goes from Cottage City down to Fairmont Heights High School, although it doesn't include the town of Fairmont Heights, and then it heads east through Glenarden, and kind of the northeast corner of my district is Glendale Elementary School. I like to say that a lot of parents, a lot of families in PGCPS have two school board members because there's someone who usually represents where they live, and then another school board member who might represent physically where their school is. And so please know that I am here as your representative of where you live, and so don't ever hesitate to reach out to me about school or other issues as well. This is also the list of schools that I represent on the Board of Education District 4. You may know that we have over 200 schools in Prince George's County. We have about 133,000 students attending over 200 schools. So we are pretty massive. We're one of the top 20. I think we might be the 18th largest school district in the country. So my priorities as your Board of Education member are to increase parent and community engagement, to improve student achievement, and to provide excellent constituent service. So I just wanted to get transportation out of the way first. There were about 100 different things I could have put on this slide, and, this guy just was perfect. Like many of you, transportation has been frustrating for our family as well. I have gotten your emails and heard your pleas, and I am passing them all on to the administration. I don't know why PGCPS stuck with the Stop Finder app for so long when we have known that it has not worked for years. But we are now moving away from it. And so you, I'm sure, have heard about Chipmunk. Who names these things? I don't know. The Chipmunk app right now is in a pilot program. We are hearing very positive things, and that it actually can track buses. Which, if you, like me, our Stop Finder app does not track our child's bus. We were one of the families who was on a route that was vacant, that has been vacant. Dr. Joseph put out a list of all of the vacant routes. We are short several hundred bus drivers this school year. So I feel your pain. Our child did take the bus home today, and it was an hour-and-a-half ride from his school ending until he got home. So I'm not complaining. I'm just letting you know I feel your pain very clearly, and I am also advocating on your behalf. We do need bus drivers. We offer, I will say, excellent benefits in Prince George's County Public Schools, and you are part of the government, the state of Maryland pension system. So if you know anyone who is currently driving an Uber or a Lyft, they should be driving a Prince George's County school bus. We pay for training. We pay for you to get your CDL license. We have a pretty decent hourly rate. I believe that it starts at $22 an hour and goes up to $48 an hour. And we have really excellent healthcare benefits. I have had the opportunity to join the healthcare as a Board of Education member. It's the best I've ever had. So please, if you know anybody who is looking for a job, maybe an entrepreneur who needs some benefits, someone who was recently laid off from the federal government who's looking to start a consulting firm but needs those health care benefits, I really strongly encourage you to urge them to become a bus driver, because we can get all the apps in the world, we can look at all the routes for what makes sense, but until we have enough bus drivers, we're all going to continue to suffer that pain. So you perhaps have heard that we have a relatively new interim superintendent. That was an exciting, I think, my second meeting as a Board of Education member, learning that Mr. House was leaving us. And our new county executive, Aisha Braveboy, appointed Dr. Sean Joseph as our interim superintendent. Prince George's County is the only school system in the state of Maryland, and perhaps I would argue one of the few, I'm guessing, in the country that does not have the power to appoint our own superintendent. So while we certainly evaluate him and require him to work with us, he is not beholden to us as a Board of Education, which is something that I think needs to be changed. But I have been very impressed with Dr. Joseph. I've really enjoyed working with him. I'm cautiously, incredibly optimistic about his leadership. I wanted to point out that he put together a 100-day entry plan of priorities. These are, if you will, his big rocks of areas. So strategic alignment, talent, academics, the blueprint for Maryland's future, community engagement, and operations. Underneath each of these tabs on the website is a very detailed plan with lots of additional information if you are curious about that. I've also been really impressed with Dr. Joseph's real commitment to transparency. He says a lot. You'll hear him say, if you've heard him out and about, you can't manage a secret. And we know that there are things that need to be fixed in Prince George's County Public Schools, and I think for a long time those have kind of been tucked under the rug. We don't want to talk about it. But he is actually bringing these things to the forefront and saying we have to talk about them if we're going to solve them. So one example of that is that he created these dashboards. So you may, at your school, or you may have heard, kids say something like, I don't have a math teacher, right? I didn't have a math teacher for a whole quarter or a whole semester. I just had a long-term sub. What he has done is put this information online, so you can go look and see exactly what positions are vacant. Now, I'm not going to say, custodial and that sort of thing aren't on here, but as far as teacher, classroom-facing students, you can see, does my school have a vacancy, for example, in third grade or in sixth grade math, or, whatever it is. And also then, if you are interested in possibly teaching at one of these schools, you know which schools you might want to specifically apply for. I have been very grateful for this information and his willingness to, put it out there. Some good news. We just recently got the results back from last year's MCAP, which is our state test that everyone in the state of Maryland takes, our standardized test. We have some good news in Prince George's County. You can see the schools that improved in 2025 versus 2024 in math. We had 136 schools improve. That's out of around our 200 schools. In reading, we had 122 schools improve their scores. We outpaced the state in math gains. We increased 3.9 percentage points in math versus 2 percentage points online, and we were so close to the Maryland average in English language arts improvements as well. We have a large number of students who are very close to reaching proficiency, and so that will be an intense focus to make sure that those students are getting there. If you love data and are really interested in this sort of thing, tomorrow evening at the Board of Education work session is completely focused on a really deep dive into this MCAP data. So if you're interested in that, you can join that virtually or watch it later on YouTube to get, again, a really deep dive into data if that is something that interests you. Another win that we had recently is that we certified the 3-year contract with PGCEA, which is our Prince George's County Educators Association. That's all of our teachers. We're very excited about this. I'm very excited. One thing in particular, that our teacher minimum salary, so a first-year brand new teacher coming into PGCPS, will now make $60,000. The blueprint for Maryland's future put a goal of all local education agencies, which is all of our county agencies, reaching that goal by next year. And I'm thrilled to say that by next year, we'll be above 60,000. And so we are outpacing what the state is requiring. And this puts us on a really strong track for being able to attract teachers. And so, the contract is, pages and pages and pages long, of course. But that, I think, is one thing that we can be really proud of, that our minimum salary to attract new teachers is $60,000, and we've done that in advance of the state requiring it. So we're almost right on time, which is awesome. And what I promised in the flyer, and what I really would love to do, because I want to hear from you not only with your questions, but also kind of your hopes and dreams and visions for Prince George's County Public Schools, is we're going to take about 35 to 40 minutes to have some table discussions. And so what I would love to do is ask some folks to come over and join these other tables. I think we might end up with like 3 pretty full tables, which would be awesome. And we're gonna pause with our folks on Zoom right now, but we will be back. Everybody on Zoom, we will be back at about 8:10, 8:15, I think 8:10. And I will take Q&A at that point, and I will, I think, be able to take also Q&A from folks on Zoom in addition to people in the audience. So these are our questions. I have them also on a sheet of paper, which I will hand out. I'm hoping that one person at each table will be willing to take notes, because while this is a really important discussion for you all to have, it's also really, really valuable information for me to have and to take back and to inform the work that I'm doing. So does anybody have any questions? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to turn this off.
schools before 9/30?
Like, yeah, you pick up a medium with like
I
three
don't
or
know.
four
I
people.
just say, I mean, in Dorchester County, we were
That's
very
exactly what
poor.
we did.
We got dropped off.
Yes, that's right.
You know,
And the custodian's
you
watching
kind
you
of
until school starts.
fended for yourself, but there wasn't this idea. It
That's
was
the
like,
truth.
oh, we were going to turn you away because it wasn't my time.
Yeah.
I thought that was more realistic to supporting working families, because most people here in Fitzroy County are working. Two-parent working families. Not like each working half-time that you can. I don't know. I was thinking, too. It's like, this is just sort of madness, but it was like, why is it that they should? Now there's these empty school buses that ride around all late. Like, why is it just not more integrated? There's just sort of bus service for we have the bus, but it's like, it's like you can ride that for free apparently this year if you're a student.
But then the thing is too, yeah, I mean, but also with all the buses, and I feel like it even if we're
The money
independent,
needs to go to that.
yeah, and that's what we're saying. Like, 'cause I was thinking there could be creative
Put all your
options
negatives and positives for each. In the middle school, you can tell it's a sort of pressure cooker. Some of the teachers are extremely, they
Engaged.
love the student. They're passionate. Rich teacher, and you go to the honors little rallies they have. I mean, the kids show probably more than they should which
Appreciation.
teachers they really like when
Yes.
they do like introductions and teaching stuff.
And the benefit also, especially for small class sizes. I mean, that's the biggest thing is like, our kids have never been in a class that's been bigger than 25 children the entire time. And so it,
I mean, it can be, but
but
not
there's
compared
attrition.
to other
Yeah, not
places.
compared to other places, and there's attrition all the time. So basically, what
I,
kids graduating class is like 16,
to
72 kids.
do,
So from 100.
and that's a positive too. Is with CPS is that the scale is provided for you, but we have cost. It's like getting electric. Why can't all the
Most of
places
us
in the
have,
county
yeah,
have
or
more
managed class sizes, or
opportunities? But
yeah,
when I think about the hospitals I own, Dorchester County, the whole public school system is like zero compared to Prince George's. I mean, I did a ticket with like 5 different high schools to go to. Okay, that wasn't a thing. I just went to the one high school. That was
yeah,
the one high school. And within it, you have like these things called functional classes, but
yeah,
you have regular, and then you have only advanced classes.
yeah.
So you have using of teaching population.
So then, out of curiosity, too, because Utah versus Wyoming, are there
textbooks and they hadn't been given. And where they were at, another one has them and they said,
That's been an issue too because they'll show up halfway through the school year, and so then they'll like send them home from one day. Because what am I going to do with it? You know, at that point, that's happened for multiple years now.
when affected students with process disabilities and conditions, those don't, we don't believe, we're not recommending that
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We just had a really wonderful, robust roundtable discussions here. And I'm sure that town staff are involved. What I am not sure is about how I will be able to take questions from the Zoom participants. So if somebody could help me with that in the next minute or couple minutes, that would be great. But I'm sure we have some questions from our in-person participants that we'll go to first. And so please come on up to the mic if you're here in person and you have a question. And then I'll figure out how to see any Zoom questions that we may have. Did everything got answered for you guys?
Sorry. So I'm Karina Tansey, and I think my question is a broad one of what avenues are available to us to help shape PGCPS? Like, how do we do that?
Excellent question. And I think I just figured out how to see the chat. I'm sorry about that.
Just ask them to raise their hand.
Oh, perfect. Oh, and then I can, yeah. Oh, terrific. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Opportunities to be involved. Oh my goodness. So, one, I would say absolutely your PTA or PTO with your school. I think that, immediate at your school engagement is crucial. But then second, I would say at the district level. So I will share Dr. Joseph, our new interim superintendent, has been doing he committed to really being out in the community. So he is doing an in-person listening session in every school board district. So mine was back in August, and we probably had about 15 people there. But I represent about 100,000 people total. We have our Board of Education meetings, our business meetings once a month, our work sessions another time during the month. We have public comment available at board meetings. You can come in person and speak for up to 3 minutes. You can submit video testimony, which is awesome, and you can submit written testimony. And while we do get some robust testimony, it's generally 10 or 15 people who provide testimony. And so again, we're a county of 1 million people. And so, I always will say to folks, whether it's a budget hearing or, anything else, if you show up and participate, you really have an outsized voice in the process because you're going to be listened to. If we only hear from 20 or 30 people, we're really listening to what you have to say. Unfortunately, at this exact moment, is the Capital Improvement Program meeting for Prince George's County Public Schools. So I absolutely would have encouraged all of you to attend that and make your voices heard, but you can also listen to that as well. I will also work really hard to send out these large meetings and engagements that you can be part of because, again, we heard a lot about facilities, and so we need everybody who's concerned about facilities to attend our Capital Improvement Program meeting. And then, I will also share, we depend on our state and county for our funding. I don't know about you, where I grew up, the school board could increase, property taxes to raise money. We don't have that ability here, which maybe is a good thing, but we rely on our county and state for all of the money that we have, and we have so many more needs than are funded. And so that letting our state delegates and our county representatives know how important school funding is to you would also be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, going up.
Hi, I'm Amanda Zabo. I have 2 kids at Judith P. Hoyer. And I wanted to ask a follow-up question about the Capital Improvement Program meeting because clearly, our school, we're a pre-K through 8 school. We've kind of outgrown it a bit. And as a parent, I would love to be able to advocate for bigger facilities, more space, but I'm a little bit confused with how to do that. And I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about that capital improvement program, because that seems to be the avenue to take. But I mean, how can parents like us advocate for our school? And I guess, is that through that program that we should be showing up?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. So I would say that the meeting tonight, absolutely, but that's not your only opportunity. So we will talk about the capital, which is buildings, money a lot over the next few months, and so absolutely engaging in that. You can come to any meeting and talk about that. Prince George's County Public Schools is woefully behind on funding our infrastructure. I mean, that is not a surprise to anyone. I think we went 30 years without building a new school in this county, and schools are really expensive, and they get more expensive to build every single year. We have done an amazing job. We entered into a P3 partnership to build a whole lot of new schools really quickly, but I completely understand what you're saying, and I think that advocacy as well to the state legislature. They'll go into their session in January. They have a 3-month session, January through April, and really pushing for additional capital funding for Prince George's County Public Schools with them as well. I believe with Hoyer, that is a different state legislative district than Cheverly. So again, like talking about, like, you have 2 school board members, right? You guys have lots of state representatives that your school attendees cover, and so making sure that you're reaching out to them would be very helpful as well to Prince George's County Public Schools. We used to say about several of our kids' schools, like, the principal's awesome, the teachers are amazing, the staff is great, the school's falling down around them, which was practically literally true. So I understand where you guys are coming from. Yeah. Okay, I think this question, if you could just get a little bit closer to the mic so that people online can hear you, and then we have a question that I'll go to online, so you're coming up next. Please, go ahead.
Thank you. My question's related to Karina's question about getting more involved. A lot of the things that our table talked about strike me as related to, like, the wellness of students, and I seem to remember there's a local wellness policy on the books, right, that gets updated, I think, every few years. And I'm curious if there's opportunities for parents to get involved in that council, and if so, what that looks like.
That is an excellent question. So I will share, I am thrilled to be the vice chair of the Board of Education's Policy and Governance Committee. And so we do review policies on a regular basis. I am going to have to look that one up because I'm not familiar with it, but we have monthly meetings, and we have, like, our regular board meetings, we have public comment available at every meeting. Mm-hmm. We go through a process of looking at our policies, and then they go out to the public for public comment. And so that is also an excellent time. So in the policy development or reformulation, and then also once they are, if you will, approved by the board to be released to the public for public comment, are all opportunities to get involved. And I think, some of us in the room also really know how important these policies are, right? Because that is where the rubber hits the road for our staff. And if you have, someone from the transportation department giving you X answer, and you're able to say, okay, but according to policy Y, you shouldn't be doing this, right? That honestly is how you end up getting movement. So I appreciate that you have raised that, and I will look into wellness policies. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, let's go online. I have Samantha's iPad for a question, and you can go ahead and I think you can start speaking.
Hi, yeah, so I am a first-time parent, and we started recently, doing research because our child's going to be able to go to kindergarten soon, and the test scores for, the standardized math and reading for, is it, Nanny Noon. What's our homeschool in Cheverly?
Gladys Noon Spellman?
Spellman. They seem really, really low. Like 4% for math and 34% for reading. Is that like, what's going on there?
Yeah, so that is an excellent question. I did talk about that just a little bit in the start of my presentation. We have seen some good increases in our MCAP, which is the type of test that you're talking about. We've seen some increases in our MCAP scores for this year, which were just released. And I would invite you to join the Board of Education work session tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock. You can join via Zoom. We are going to do a deep dive. The whole meeting tomorrow night is focused on our MCAP data and doing a really deep dive into it. So I would love for you to join that meeting. If you can't join in person, it will be recorded and on our YouTube channel as well. So you can listen to that and hear the deep dive. I haven't gotten that deep dive yet. I'm going to get it tomorrow. So I'm hoping to get some more answers just like what you're asking.
Okay, so would I just go to the Board of Education website? And I'm sorry, I've been down a rabbit hole and I cried in all the things because I'm just a little concerned.
Yeah, so all of our meetings are so pgcps.org, and I believe if you scroll down the page, maybe about 2/3 or 3/4 away down the page, there's a list of upcoming events. And under the upcoming events, you should see for tomorrow evening, probably titled work session or Board of Education work session. And then when you click on that, you should have the link to be able to join on Zoom. Of course, you're more than welcome to come to Upper Marlboro as well to sit in the audience if you're interested. But you can also watch on Zoom. And then I have to admit, I don't know the PGCPS YouTube page off the top of my head, but I presume if you go to YouTube and then Prince George's County Public Schools or PGCPS, our YouTube page will come up where all of our meetings are, I think after the fact, they're uploaded to YouTube.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Meg Hannigan Dominguez. I have 2 children at Cesar Chavez, and I live in Ward 4 here in Cheverly. And I'm just curious, this is a little bit speculative, I guess, but I've been reading a lot of conversations nationally about vouchers and school choice and how different states are voting on that and how that impacts public school funding. So I'm curious if any of those conversations have been happening preemptively in Maryland at the state level or at the federal level, just kind of thinking about if the vouchers come, how that might impact public school funding. What are maybe some things that the Board of Education is doing preemptively? Any conversations like that, or any ways for parents to get involved?
Fantastic question. I have also been very interested and concerned about the private school vouchers. So Maryland already has a program to provide scholarships to folks attending private schools. It's called our Boost Scholarship. In my personal opinion, we need to stop there with using public dollars to support private education. I do understand that per recent legislation and or perhaps an executive order, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly, states will have the opportunity to opt into additional voucher programs. So it's one of my personal priorities to ensure that the Maryland General Assembly does not opt Maryland into that program. But again, I think, our state senator and delegates are out and about in the community, they're attending meetings, they're having picnics, all of that. And so letting them know that you would like to see increased funding for public education and not have that funding siphoned off to support private schools would be incredibly helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Let's see. I don't see any more hands raised. Are there any more questions from the audience? Yeah, come on up, Margie. Okay, and get real close to the microphone so they can hear you online.
Okay, I guess I'll speak up here too. So I have been confused about communications, and I'm going to bring up related to transportation. So I keep as I'm interpreting the messages, hearing that in order to demonstrate my child's in need of a bus, I need to let my child stand at the bus stop, okay? Even if this results in my child being late to school every day. So, am I understanding this correctly?
So that's a great question, and one that I had asked myself as a parent, because as I mentioned earlier, my child's bus is one of the routes that we were told in advance of school starting did not have a driver assigned to that route. And so we were told, expect to be very late, try to have an alternative, form of transportation. So Abel and I figured out how we could drop off and pick up every day so that he would get to school on time and get home at a reasonable hour. So then I started kind of worrying, okay, well, if he hasn't been at the bus stop for the last 2 weeks, and is the bus coming by and marking him as like, this bus stop is empty, no one's here, we should take it off the list. So I have a little bit of a direct connection to the transportation office, and I asked that exact question. I said, hey, is my kid going to be taken off the bus list now? And they wrote back and said, absolutely not. We understand during these first couple weeks, blah, blah, blah. Literally the next day is when kind of the second transportation email came out from the system saying, make sure your kid is at their bus stop, because if they're not there, they might be taken off the bus route list. And I took my answer that I'd gotten less than 24 hours before and said, this is the exact opposite of what you just told me. What is the truth? What is actually going to happen? And they shared with me that, and this goes to many of the larger issues that we have talked about, they said, well, they're not going to be taken off, but we really want people to start going to their bus stops and waiting there, but they're not going to be taken off. So you perhaps can imagine that I was not very happy with that answer and said, we need to be communicating this differently then, because this is not fair. You've given parents the impression that if their kid isn't standing waiting at the bus stop for 40 minutes and late to school, by an hour or more, they're going to be taken off the bus stop route for the future, and that's not a fair, it's not fair to give that impression when it's actually not really true. So I don't know, but that's what I shared back with them. Margie.
Hi, my name is Margie Cohn. I'm a special education lawyer. I represent parents in the District of Columbia and throughout Maryland. And I've done this for 30 years. I'd like to know what the highest priorities are for what Prince George's County Public Schools is going to has set as priorities for the thousands of children who qualify for special education services in PG County and have individual education plans. What are the priorities for improving specialized education in the county for the 2025-26 school year?
Thank you, Margie. I think that is, all of these questions have just been fantastic. So I will say that, and I'm gonna get this wording wrong because I keep messing it up, but we are essentially under a corrective order, if you will, from the state of Maryland right now regarding special education. So as concerning as that is, for me it's actually good news, because we are being required to look much more closely at special education and to do much more work than we have been doing. And so I can't give you that answer right now, but I can tell you that it is absolutely a priority of mine. I'm one of the board liaisons to the Disability Issues Advisory Group as well. And as some of you may imagine, many of those parents have really kind of been through hell and back in their effort to get a high quality, free, constitutionally, by the Constitution of the state of Maryland, required public education. And so I want to let you know that it is also something that I'm paying a lot of attention to, and I appreciate you raising it. Go ahead, Frank.
Good evening. I'm a freshman. I'm a freshman student in a school at Bishop Upper Marlboro, and it's called Bishop McNamara. And I heard public schools had really good programs, and I wanted to know if you could take any programs while going to another private school, and how efficient are they, if you can.
So great question. So your question is, while you're attending the private school, can you take advantage of public school programs? Mm-hmm. So the short answer is no. By and large, sports, enrichment clubs, and other special programs are only available to Prince George's County public school students. I would say, and I'm not sure if Bishop McNamara participates in this program or not, but I know there is an opportunity for dual enrollment with Prince George's Community College. So generally that's more your junior and senior year of high school. You could have the potential to take a dual enrollment course where you're getting college credit while you're in high school. I know that program is absolutely offered to our public school students, and I believe that some private schools can take advantage of that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being here.
Hi there. My name is Laurie Pickard. I have 2 students at Dora Kennedy French Immersion School. I'm going to come back to the transportation question. Thank you for your question. I want to follow up on it. So if we don't need to be having our kids wait at the bus for the bus that comes late or doesn't come, what is the best way to continue to advocate for the kids that want to be on the bus but can't take the bus because they will arrive late to school every day?
Yeah, so emailing me, as much as I hate to say that. You have my email here. This is my Board of Education cell phone as well, so please reach out to me. I will escalate that concern. And I know this is a pain. I have used the system and it's a pain, but putting the complaint, thank you, the Transportation Resolution Center, which is online. Again, I know it's not a user-friendly system, but continuing to put, and maybe even like your carpool group, like you take turns, like I'm going to complain about Monday and you're going to complain about Tuesday, right? So you're not all having to enter it every day, but we do need that's how official complaints get logged, right? So if I, as a Board of Education member, say, how many complaints did you get about Dora Kennedy? We need you all to be putting them in so they can say, oh my gosh, we've gotten 10,000, we've gotten 300 complaints about the Dora Kennedy bus. We better do something about that, right? So unfortunately, I do need you all to be squeaky wheels.
Hi, I'm back. So Karina Tansey, and this is a follow-up on the transportation overall concerns, and that is, and you touched on it in this last question, but what are the accountability pathways for the transportation department? Like, who is telling them that they have to do their job? And when are they going to run up against a wall? Because we are all experiencing frustrations.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So in theory, as a board of education, right, we have one employee, and that would be the superintendent of schools. Although, as I shared earlier, we do not choose the superintendent, so that's a little tricky here in Prince George's County. But our job, right, is to ensure that the superintendent of schools is following policy and using money appropriately. The superintendent of schools then is the boss of everyone else in the system. And so in the operations department, which transportation falls under, is Dr. Chakasar Coleman, is our COO. And so he ultimately is above the transportation department in that regard. And so, ultimately it is him and Dr. Joseph who need to make sure that the transportation team is doing their job. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
First off, thanks again for everything tonight. This has been great. My name's Tommy. I was just wondering, I've been following the conversation about phone use and social media, specifically in schools, and smartphones specifically in schools. And I've been seeing phone bans across the country happening, and it's kind of popping up. What is the board thinking, and what do you think might happen in Prince George County?
Yeah, also a great question. Definitely kind of a hot topic, as you said, across the country as well with us. So the Maryland General Assembly last year in their legislative session indicated that each school system should develop their own policy. What I have found is that my understanding, and again, I apologize, I don't have every answer for you. I'm fairly new, so I'm still learning a lot. But we have not, as a Board of Education, I believe, created a cell phone use policy. However, many of our schools have done that. And my personal experience with my children is that the phones need to be put away during the day. There's a range of whether those go into a, one of those like magnetic pockets. And if they're in a magnetic pocket, they can, physically like stay on the child, like in their backpack, but in the magnetic pocket. My child's school is that the phones must be turned off and be out of sight. So he is able to keep it in his book bag at all times. But if it's not be able to, if a teacher sees it, he'll get in trouble. So right now, it is just a wide range of rules, and I do think that is going to be really important for the board to address, because it's also not fair for each principal and each teacher to potentially have a different rule, right? I'm sure, as parents, right, if you and your co-parent are saying different things, right, the kid's going to take the easiest path of resistance, right? And so if different teachers have different rules or different principals have different rules, that isn't really ideal overall. So I do think this is going to be something important for the board to address. I do want to just mention we have our mayor, Michael Watson, has joined us. Also a PGCPS parent as well. Yeah, go ahead if you have another question, please. And we'll just, no, I don't, do you want to, yeah.
I just have one more question.
Yeah.
This has to do with food.
Yeah.
So, there's all the studies coming out with ultra-processed food is terrible for us. My son brought home breakfast the other day. It was a breakfast bag. It had 3 items in it. One was fruit punch. One was like the sugariest cereal you could possibly have. And then there was cookies in there as well. So counting it up is 25 grams of sugar.
Wow.
And currently I looked it up. I think the National Academy of Pediatrics or something suggests no more than 25 grams of sugar per day per kids, which is probably not even a great standard. It's probably a little high. So what is the board doing to address that? I know there's some nutritional standards that are coming into play in the next couple of years, but is there any way we can kind of speed that up and get our kids better food?
Also a great question. So I was actually we have 9 single-member districts for our Board of Education, and then we have a student board member. So they're either usually a junior or senior in high school who are elected by their peers to serve on the Board of Education. They have almost full voting rights. And I was just talking with our student board member who is very interested and very concerned about the nutrition value and quality of the food served in our schools. And so I encouraged her. She was talking about, really kind of getting a task force, and she was like, we need to bring parents in to taste this food, and they'll see what's wrong, and she has all these great ideas. So I am like behind her 100%, and I let her know that to help her do whatever she needs to do to really raise up this issue. I'll also share, I was just speaking with our county council member, Shayla Adams Stafford, who is really interested in pushing a state bill to ban red dye, is it 40? Red dye, just in general, red dye from any products sold or given away in public schools. I understand that would need to be a state issue, so she's bringing that draft bill to our state senators and delegates. So that would be another great way for us to get involved and support that statewide effort. So I hear you, and I agree, and I'm really hoping Board Member Ajakaye, who's our student member, who's awesome, I'm going to support her in any way to kind of, elevate this issue. So it is 8:31, so I'm going to close this. Again, oh, it's not there anymore. Sorry, I have my card in if you took any goodies. And please, my cell phone was on the screen earlier. I can give it to you. My email. Please reach out. Please stay in touch. And I just am so grateful to everybody for coming tonight and for the town for hosting it.
Recording stopped.
How many people did you get online?
3. At least at this end. There might have been more at the very beginning.